Hello, welcome to Elizabeth Reads. We have The Girl with Space in Her Heart by Lara Williamson. We are on the third chapter called Dolly-Rose. The following day, I'm sitting in class, staring out the window and watching seagulls fighting over a bread roll. I'm thinking about how terrible Topaz must have got Gavin more mixed up than a pick and mix when my teacher says he has 2 bits of exciting news. I turn my gaze from the window to Mr. Spooner. The news is that 1, we're discussing a new project this afternoon. 2, we have a new classmate. Just as I'm thinking that Mr. Spooner's idea of exciting isn't quite the same as mine, there's a polite little tap at the classroom door and Mr. Spooner flings it open. A girl with long copper wavy hair peers into the room and is ushered inside. "Welcome to Joach's Primary School, Dolly-Rose." Mr. Spooner beams and adds, "This is your new class, and we'd love to hear 5 interesting facts about you before you take a seat." The girl looks around, blinks again, but she doesn't smile. Instead, her cheeks flush as she says that she lives in Buckingham Palace. Fact 1. I don't hear facts 2 and 3 because I'm so busy giggling at Lee, who is asking if she lives in Buckingham Palace. He tries to bow, but bangs his head on the desk, which makes me laugh even more. Mr. Spooner does not like us chuckling away when we're supposed to be listening and asks me to be quiet. "You can't be listening if you're laughing," Mr. Spooner says, staring at Lee and me. For the record, I think it is possible to do both at the same time, but I stopped guffawing long enough to hear facts 4 and 5. Dolly-Rose's dad is a nuclear scientist, and her mother is a brain surgeon. Mr. Spooner urges the class to give Dolly-Rose a round of applause, which we do, and suggests that we make her welcome by introducing ourselves individually at lunchtime. At lunchtime, I see Dolly-Rose, and she looks a bit sad, and I remember how Nana Anna once joined a new bowling club, and she said she felt worried and nervous, which was understandable when you're starting something new. I realized Dolly-Rose might be feeling that way, and I know what it feels like to worry, so I want to be her friend. And that's why I'm standing in front of her now introducing myself, telling her my name is Mabel Mint with a Y. Dolly-Rose is sitting on the wall and she sighs, looks up from a book she's reading called Daydreaming Daisy, and replies that her name is Dolly-Rose. Dolly like the mixtures and Rose like a flower. Firstly, I say I like Dolly mixtures, and then I say that the houses in Buckingham Place are very nice. I don't know anyone who lives in that road. The houses are like mansions, but I guess if your dad's a nuclear scientist and your mum's a brain surgeon, then I'm not surprised. My mum has a fudge shop right on the seafront called Fudge Fudge Wink Wink. Our house isn't a mansion, even though my Nana Anna says that a bag of fudge at the seaside actually costs a small fortune, so by rights, Mum should be mega rich. Dolly-Rose looks up at me as if I'm a silly 5-eyed alien wearing a tutu, which I am clearly not. "You don't know anything about my life," she mutters. For a second, there is a silence more awkward than your pants being eaten by your bottom, but I quickly fill it by saying I'll tell her some facts about Joach's Primary, since she's new here. Before Dolly-Rose gets a chance to complain, I say, if you go into the classrooms on the first floor and stand on your tiptoes, you can see the lighthouse on the horizon. And seagulls are always eating from our rubbish bins. The caretaker hates it when we put leftover sandwiches in there. We have a tree that's about 1,000 years old in the playground, and no one knows but me that there's a little hole in the trunk where you can hide things. I'll give you a tour of the whole school if you like." "Oh no, I don't think I'll be needing that tour," scoffs Dolly-Rose, setting her book down. It lies on the wall like a broken-winged butterfly, and she juts out her bottom lip before shaking her head. "I'll be leaving very soon. You see, I can't stay here long because I'm going to be a huge star." She stares up into the sky. I follow her gaze, although I can't see much except a load of gray clouds. After a few seconds of considering the chance of it raining, I turn back to Dolly-Rose and say, "I'm not sure you can technically become a star." "Why not?" Dolly-Rose's eyes lock onto me and then narrow. She pauses, waiting for my answer. I give it. "Because you'd be a big mass of gas." I meant to engage my brain before I said anything daft, but then my mouth just went, "Nah, let's go right ahead," and the words slipped from my lips like syrup from a spoon. I laugh because I've just told Dolly-Rose she'd be full of gas, and it's the funniest thing ever. But realizing what I've said, Dolly-Rose's eyes turn to sharp little blades of anger, and I have to bite the inside of my cheek to stop myself cackling. "You're annoying, Mabel Mint with a Y. Don't ever speak to me again," says Dolly-Rose, picking up her book and pretending to read it. "It's upside down," I say, scuttling off. In the afternoon, Mr. Spooner is babbling on about this new exciting project he mentioned earlier. Apparently, it's a project that he's calling Poetry in E-Motion. It's going to be our big opportunity to write emotional poetry. A chance to discover that what we see in people in the world around us isn't always the whole picture, to dig deep below the surface. "Like if you've got a boogie, sir?" pipes up a voice from the front row. "You've got to dig deep." "Not quite, Lee," says Mr. Spooner, pressing his lips together like a drawstring bag. "We're going to write our own poems, but think deeper, look deeper, write emotionally. Imagine an iceberg." I can tell Lee is imagining it because he's shivering. You only see a part of it sticking out of the water, but if you look carefully, you'll see so much more below the surface. That's what we are going to do with our poems. Think iceberg. Think everything is not what it seems on the surface. Wise words from Mr. Spooner, totally ignored by the class, who are watching Lee shivering and giggling. "Can you please pay attention?" says Mr. Spooner. "When we're finished, we're going to write our best poems on a piece of card and attach those to helium balloons that will float away from the front of the school. Your writing can be thoughtful, funny, or heartfelt. And hopefully, someone out there will find your balloon and be touched by the poem in some way. Kindness costs nothing, you know." Mr. Spooner grins and then hands us blue notebooks and tells us we can get started at home by keeping these notebooks and jotting down a few ideas in our spare time. No one else has to read what you've written. Write happy or sad in there. Anything that stirs emotions and helps you dig deeper. Write what's right for you. Lee mutters something about poetry being written by losers. He makes the L shape with his fingers. Mr. Spooner makes an X shape with his fingers and suggests it's the mark Lee will be getting if he doesn't stop talking utter nonsense. That night after dinner, I start scribbling a poem in the new blue notebook that Mr. Spooner gave me earlier. It's a personal poem about space, and it deserves to be on page 1. I have called it Space in My Heart. I've written my title in big, bold letters and surrounded it with a drawing of a halo of stars. As I'm writing the first few lines, the door of my bedroom flings open. Like a bad smell, terrible Topaz appears and lingers. When I tell her that it's polite to knock, she comes over and knocks on my head, asking if that's better, before flinging herself onto my bed. It is not better, but I don't say so. "I've just finished one of my romance books," sighs Topaz. "The woman's heart, it went da-dum, 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 crash." Topaz takes her heart and hand and taps it on her chest to make a heartbeat noise. "What? She had a heart attack?" I raised my eyebrows so high I swear it's like they're on an eyebrow circus tightrope. "No, she didn't," exclaimed Topaz. "Don't be daft. If she'd had a heart attack, the book would have finished on chapter 20. Nope. The man in this book broke her heart, but it went really badly for him afterwards because she waited until he went on holiday, and she went into his house and sprinkled some cress seeds on his carpet and then watered them and left. What good was that? It grew cress all over his house. When he got back from his holiday, he had plenty of cress for his sandwiches, and the woman got her revenge on him for breaking her heart," declares Topaz. "What I'm trying to say is we don't want Mum to consider getting revenge, so we can't let her heart get broken again. I've been giving this a lot of thought today." Topaz adjusts her shirt before looking down at my notebook. Even though I slam it shut, I'm not quick enough because terrible Topaz says, "Why are you writing about space?" I'm thinking about going on holiday," I mumble, bouncing my knee up and down. "Where? To space?" As I'm considering a genius answer, Topaz throws back, "I need a holiday away from you. And even if I ended up on Mars, it wouldn't be far enough away." When I finish pretend splitting my sides at Topaz's humor, which takes about 0.01 seconds, I manage to say that the book she's been reading doesn't sound like much of a romance. Topaz defends it by replying, "Oh, it was, because the woman eventually fell in love with the next-door neighbor, and they lived on cress sandwiches," I offer. "Please," Topaz snipes. "They lived happily ever after. But Mum won't be living happily ever after with Galactic Gavin. I was staring at him earlier at the dinner table and thinking that we've got to look out for Mum. I'm telling you, we need to be rid of him, Mabel. And the sooner, the better. Are you with me on this? The last time I mentioned it, you didn't seem sure. I think of how much I'd like to avoid Mum's heart being broken by Gavin, and press my fingers down on my notebook cover, tapping my pen on top of it like a little drumstick. Part of me still thinks Topaz has got this all wrong. Maybe she jumped to conclusions, like she was on the bounciest trampoline in the world, pretending she was a yo-yo kind of jumping. Apparently, Gavin was up to no good, though, and Topaz knew it. Personally, I think Topaz should give him a chance. He's kind, and last week he even cleaned up one of Jupiter's gifts because Mum said that if she saw any further mouse guts, she'd scream the house down. And when I couldn't figure out my math homework, Gavin was there, and he tried to help me. When he couldn't figure it out either, he told me that whatever I did in life, I'd succeed, and I felt this warm, fuzzy feeling inside. That's because Gavin is 100% nice. So how can Topaz be right about what she saw? But if we get rid of him, who'll clean up mouse guts and get as confused about math homework as me and say it doesn't matter, I whisper, tapping the pen. And then I think, and who will talk to me about the stars and then remind me I'll succeed in whatever I do? Who will smile and tell me I'm as bright as Alpha Centauri? Who will be like strawberry laces when I'm missing cheese strings? I realize my stomach is lurching, even though I'm trying to keep my concerns squashed down. I think about how much I like Gavin, but then I glance at Topaz frowning at me and remember when Mum was brokenhearted and how I tried to cheer her up, but nothing would work. Back then, I'd have done anything for some magical superglue to repair Mum's heart and make it like new again. My shoulders sag when my mind turns to Dad and the space he left in my heart, and I wonder if magical glue could ever heal that. Only, I know it couldn't. And then I think about Gavin and how he makes me laugh and how that could all disappear too. And the worry I'm feeling spins inside me like a washing machine going round and round. Mouse guts and maths? Why on earth are you waffling on about those? Squeals terrible Topaz, breaking me out of my thoughts and snatching the pen away from me. She taps it on my head like my skull is her personal drum kit and she's just getting to the big drum solo. This is serious. And she taps on me again. This is a matter of life or... Without thinking, I mumble, Cress? That's the end of that chapter. Let me read you her poem, Space in My Heart. I need space to think. I need space to grow. I need space to breathe. I need space to say no. I need space to challenge. I need space to be free. I need space to refuse. I need space to be me. I need space to learn. I need space to be mad. I need space to remember. I need space to be sad. I need space to finish. I need space to start. I need space forever, but not space in my heart.